Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's Thursday, it's 9 o'clock. It's time for Magic Stuff. Now today I'm going to be talking about how to practice. This is such an important subject that so many people have asked me to do a video on, because the thing is, when you get into magic, every single magic book says practice, practice, practice. You've got to practice this stuff. The only way to practice is to get better. And that's true, but nobody tells you how to practice or what to practice or why practice. Nobody tells you any of that stuff. And it can be overwhelming sometimes. And I see a lot of people losing their interest in magic, and they kind of lose their interest in magic because they're practicing and they're not really enjoying it, and they don't really know what to do. So what I'm doing on this video is going through a 10-step process of how you can practice really effectively. And you know, when I take something seriously, that I make notes. I have notes right here. These are notes that I have made. I don't have a piece of paper today, but I do have them written down on my phone. 10 notes on how you can make sure that when you practice, you make the most out of your practicing sessions. So I hope this video is going to make it really easy for you to practice. It's one that's been very requested. So without further ado, let's have a look at point number 1 as to how to practice effectively. Okay, so point number 1 is don't try to practice a million things at once. That is really important. Don't try and practice a million things at once. I see a lot of magicians, and one of the points that I want to make about this video is my goal with this is to try and help you practice more effectively whilst at the same time not lose your interest in magic. Because I see a lot of people losing their interest in magic, and they sit there and they go down to practice and they're like, right, okay, I'm going to practice, and they can't even be bothered to practice. And I've met magicians that go, oh, I haven't picked up a pack of cards for 3 months. I haven't picked up a pack of cards for 6 months. And the thing is, one of the things that will stop that from happening is enjoying the practicing process. And the points that I'm going to be making for you right now are going to help you enjoy the practicing process. And as I say, the first one is don't try and practice a million things at once. And this is something that's very common with new magicians. What they do is they put a $300 penguin order in, and they get a big massive box, and it's like, okay, I've got this trick and this trick and this trick and this trick and this trick. I'm going to learn, right, okay, let me watch the tutorial for that one. Okay, right, okay, now let me watch the tutorial for that one. Right, let me watch the tutorial for that one. Okay, now I'm going to practice all of these. And you can end up getting confused, and you end up with stuff all over the place and not really knowing what's going on. I would advocate for you to pick one trick initially. Pick one trick and practice that trick. And then when you feel like you've got it down and you feel like you've got it at a level where you're happy with it, then move on to another trick. Then move on to another trick. And with the magic marketplace, the way that it is at the moment, it's very easy to kind of overwhelm yourself and try and have too many tricks going on at the same time. And right, okay, I'm going to be learning this out of this book, this off this download, this off this trick, and you're kind of all over the place. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want to have a couple of things going on at once. And what I mean by that is I'm always practicing coin sleights when I'm out and about. When I'm out and about, I'm always practicing coin sleights. I have my coins with me. I'm always doing it. When I'm in the office or at home, I have a pack of cards almost everywhere. So while I'm working, I'll have a pack of cards with me, and I'm practicing card magic. That's fine. Sleights and routines and stuff like that, that's cool. And I'm doing it almost without thinking about it while I'm on the phone and so on and so forth. However, when you're practicing a particular trick or a particular routine, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try and practice 7 or 8 things at once. Just practice one thing, get it perfect, then move on to the next. Okay, point number 2 is have a dedicated practice space. And this is very important if you live in the house with somebody else. If you are still living at home with your parents, very important point. If you've got brothers and sisters in the house and your parents, it's very important. If you're like me and you've got a wife and you've got kids and you've got dogs, it's also vitally important that you find your own practice space. Because if I sit there in my living room, for example, and I'm just like, right, okay, I'm going to practice this routine. First of all, it's so distracting, because what will happen is Sarah will be walking back and forth doing something, and then my daughter Thea will come on, probably put on Peppa Pig or something like that. Then the dogs will come and jump on my lap, and Rylan will come in and say, hey Dad, let me show you this trick. And it's like, everyone go away, I'm trying to practice a trick. You get distracted, you end up not practicing. You want to have a place that's kind of out the way, that's separate to distractions, that you can go and you can practice. And that might be, so for me, I have a man cave. I say man cave, it's like a home theatre thing at the bottom of my garden. And it's got a bar, and it's got, like reclining seating and stuff, and a pool table, and all this sort of stuff. I go in there, I've got a practice table set up in there, and I've got a library of books, and I've got a whole bunch of props in there on shelves, and I'll just go and sit there to practice. A lot of the time when me and Ryland are learning the stuff for the review show, that's where we'll go, away from the hustle bustle of the house. Now, I'm not saying that's the best place to go and practice. That works for me. Find yourself a place that you can go and you can practice. It's very important that you have a dedicated space to practice that's away from distractions. And on that point as well, when you do start practicing, make sure that your phone is off. Not on do not disturb. Make sure that you switch it off. Make sure, in fact, let's make that point number 3. Here we go. Point number 3, like I said earlier on, point number 3 is no interruptions, no disruptions. Make sure that when you're sitting down to practice, you've got nothing else that's going on. I see people that are practicing and they have the TV on in the background. That's not really practicing, because you're going to get distracted by the television. Even putting a radio on. Now, obviously, it's okay if you're learning a download to have the download on, because else how are you going to learn it? But make sure there's no TVs or any distractions on. Try to make sure that your phone is on flight mode or silent or something like that, so that you're not getting beeps and texts, because you know what it's like. Every time you get a Facebook notification, it's like, oh, a squirrel. Look, a Facebook notification. I wonder what's going on here. And you get distracted and you go down that rabbit warren. Stop it. Stop it. Just practice and don't have any interruptions. And if you live with family, like I do and like most people do, you live with somebody, it might be a flatmate or something, say to them, I'm going down to practice. I'm going to be maybe an hour. Please don't disturb me unless the world is coming to an end and there's a zombie apocalypse. I don't want to know. Now, a lot of people that I say this to, they go, oh, I should have a dedicated practice time. I should practice every Wednesday at... Now, that's totally up to you. I don't have a dedicated practice time, because that will lead you to not enjoying the practicing, because there's sometimes I'm just not into it. There's sometimes and I just don't want to practice. Now, I know Jason Ladani, he says, hey, you should have dedicated time every single day that you practice. And that works for him, and that's absolutely fine. And if you're a structured type of person, that might work for you. For me, it doesn't work, because I like to have the flexibility of going and practicing when I feel creatively ready to practice, or I feel like I want to practice. What I don't want to be is in a situation where I'm just not feeling it, I'm not into it, and now my alarm's gone off, right, I've got to practice, and I just don't want to practice. I wouldn't suggest, from my point of view, this is only my opinion, I wouldn't suggest having dedicated practice time. I do try and practice every single day, but it's on my terms. Point number 4, and this is a very important point, get yourself a 3-way mirror. Get yourself a 3-way mirror. It's a mirror that kind of does that. And that will allow you to practice and see the angles. By adjusting the mirror, you can see all the different angles of how you're holding the coin and how you're holding the deck. And that is very, very important. Because one thing that magicians forget when they're practicing is they forget that angles are just as important as everything else. Yeah, you need to keep track of the angles. You need to keep track of where things are, and does this work from this angle? Does this work from this angle? Because when you're out in the real world, or you're performing to people in pubs or bars or restaurants or gigs or your friends, whatever it may be, or at school, you want to make sure that you know what the angles are. Well, a 3-way mirror allows you to keep track of those angles. And if you're not practicing with a 3-way mirror, you'll just know what it looks like from your point of view. And that's not very good. So you want to make sure that you get a 3-way mirror and practice in front of that 3-way mirror. The other thing that I would say is when you practice, once you've got the routine drilled, right? Once you've got the routine drilled, practice as if you're at the situation in which you want to perform the routine for. So for example, if I'm learning a routine that I want to do in a walk around set, I'm going to practice that routine standing up. I'm going to have a table there so I can pretend that's the spectator's hands, and I'm going to do the routine standing up. If I'm learning a routine that is probably going to be done sitting down, I'm going to sit down at a table like this. Because if you practice the routine sitting down, and then all of a sudden you stand up to do the routine, it's a completely different thing. So when you're learning the routine, A, have a mirror, but B, make sure that the routine that you're practicing, you practice it as if you are in the environment in which you envisage that routine being performed. Okay, point number 5 is use a video camera and practice presentation as well as technique. That's very, very important. You have to have a video camera. When you feel like you've got the trick ready, you have to have a video camera on you and you have to film the whole thing, including the presentation, because you will realize very quickly it's not as good as you thought it was in your head. I'll give you an example. When I was putting together my illusion show at the very, very beginning, I had this idea of using the crystal casket. If you don't know what the crystal casket is, it's an illusion where there's a see-through box on a stand and you put a cloth over it. When you pull it away, a girl's there. I had the idea of having this crystal casket made with a hole in the side. And the whole idea was I was kind of using Greg Wilson's routine, his opener with a party theme as inspiration. So I thought, come out on stage, have this empty box there and say to the audience, this is a party in a box and it's everything that you need to have a party. And the whole idea is the box would be empty, you'd cover it up and I'd be reaching in, there'd be a banner which I'd put on the box saying it's party time, there'd be party hats, there'd be party blowers, there'd be leis, like Hawaiian leis and stuff like that. And then I'd say, of course, you need beer, and you reach in and there's a glass of beer, and then you say, there's one other thing you need, and that's girls, and you pull the cloth off and there's a girl there. In my head, it sounded great. I videoed it, I practiced it for ages, and I videoed it, and I realized very, very quickly from watching it for the first time that it was the single cringiest thing that I'd ever seen in my entire life. And immediately I binned that presentation and never went back to it again. I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't videoed it. It is so vitally important to video absolutely everything that you practice. If you're planning on performing it to real people, whether that be friends or that be a gigging environment, make sure you practice that routine until you've got it absolutely perfect. Then video it, watch the videos back, and keep videoing it again until you go, yep, you know what? That's good. Okay, point number 6, this is the 6th point. Make sure that you're doing correct practice. Practice makes perfect, but only correct practice. What I mean by that is if you're learning a move, for example, let's take a double lift, for example. You're wanting to learn a double lift. You're new into magic and you want to learn a double lift. If you learn the double lift incorrectly and you practice it 1,000 times, all you've done is you've got perfect at doing a terrible double lift. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure before you drill the sleight or the routine or whatever it is, before you drill it, make sure that it looks good. And that's where the video camera comes in and the 3-way mirror comes in. Make sure that it looks good. Make sure that that whole thing looks really good. And one way you can do that, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on, is make sure that you've got friends that you can show it to. I think I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on. Yeah, make sure you've got friends that you can show it to, because you want to make sure that that sleight or that move looks absolutely perfect before you do it over and over again. The action of doing it over and over again will kick muscle memory in. And what I mean by muscle memory is the more you do something, the better you get at it. There's that old thing that says you do something 10,000 times, you become an expert. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know that the more you do something, the better you get at it. But you need to make sure you've got it correct first of all. I can't tell you the amount of magicians I've met that have got an awful double lift. And they go, oh, I've done that for years. Oh yeah, I know it inside out and back to front. Yeah, all you've got is a terrible double lift. So make sure that you've got it right before you actually drill it and get it into your muscle memory. Okay, point number 7 is practice routines as well as sleights. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with practicing sleights, and I practice sleights all the time when I'm sitting at my desk or I'm walking around with a coin and whatever it is. I'm practicing sleights all the time, and practicing sleights is important, But you want to make sure that when you're doing dedicated practice time, you're practicing routines. And so many magicians that I meet, not just new magicians, but experienced magicians, they don't practice routines. They just practice moves. And that's all they do. And when they get a new trick, they practice the moves to the trick, and that's all they do. You want to practice the whole routine. And you want to practice it out loud. You want to practice everything, including the presentation. You know, Ryland's a nightmare for this. When he's learning something new, he'll practice the moves, and he says to me that he practices the presentation in his head. And I go, dude, why aren't you practicing the presentation? Oh, I'm doing it in my head. And then I say, show me then. And he does it, and the presentation sucks. And I'm like, presentation sucks, dude. Now I want to hear you do it out loud. And he does it out loud a couple of times, and then he comes back and shows me, and I go, yeah, that's so much better. And it's so important to practice the full routine. And I go to the nth degree with it. Like, I pretend, first of all, I practice it as if I'm in a gig. So if it's a stand-up piece that I'm practicing, I'm standing up. If it's a sit-down piece, I'm sitting down, like I said before. But the other thing is, I pretend that there's invisible people around me, and I pretend that I'm making sure that I'm guarding the angles from these invisible people, and I imagine what these invisible people are going to say to me, and I say something back to them, I remark on them. So, okay guys, I'm going to show you a trick. Can you pick a card for me, sir? No, not that card, that card. Very good. Show everyone, don't show me. Wonderful. Make sure you don't cheat. Show me. I don't want you to think I'm cheating. I'm going to cheat. I just don't want you to think I'm going to. And I practice looking around at all these invisible people and getting eye contact with all these invisible people. So I'm not just looking down at my deck. And that's what I mean by practicing routines. Practice the whole thing. Don't just practice sleights. Practice routines properly. Okay, so point number 8 is have an end game, else it will feel useless and pointless. And what I mean by an end game is have a reason as to why you're practicing this routine. Now, it might not necessarily be for a gig, might be for a gig, I don't know. But you know, I know there's a lot of people who watch these videos that are amateurs and hobbyists and you know, whatever it may be. So have an end game. Like I say, it doesn't have to be a gig. It could be you want to show it to a particular group of friends, or you want to show it to your family, or you want to do this with it, or you want to do that with it, or you want to film it for social media, or you want to show it to your magic buddies down the magic club. Whatever it is, I don't care, but have an end game, because burnout is a real thing. You don't want to ever feel like you don't want to practice. Oh, I don't feel like practicing today. Oh, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to practice today. You never want to feel like that. And the way to stop it is to have an actual point for practicing this stuff. Rather than just practicing it for yourself and you're never going to show anyone it, have a reason why you're practicing it and make it a goal. Right, okay, there's this new routine. I want to learn the portable hole by David Roth. This is going to be a tough routine to learn. Okay, this is going to take me a few weeks to learn. I'm going to get I'm going to give myself 3 weeks to get this perfect. Okay, what am I going to do in 3 weeks? I'm going to perform it to all of my friends down the Magic Club, right? Okay. And then I tell them, hey, I'm working on this new routine. In 3 weeks' time, I'm going to walk in here and I'm going to do it, and you guys are going to love it. Okay. Now you've set yourself a goal. Now you have a reason to practice this trick. Have a reason to practice the trick, else you will burn out. If you're just practicing stuff for yourself and you never end up doing it, that's not good. It's fine to do that sometimes, but really you want to have an end game. Have a goal in mind as to when you're actually going to use this thing. Number nine is search for inspiration. You know, one of the biggest things I've heard over the last 2 years is people saying, oh, I've fallen out of love with magic. I haven't picked up a deck in 6 months. I don't like practicing. I don't like doing anything with magic. That's it. And I've seen so many people leave magic. And it's really upsetting to me. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to a party or a gig or a group of friends and you start performing magic and there's a guy there that goes, oh, you know what, I used to do magic a few years ago. I can't remember anything now. Well, that could be you. If you're the person that burns out and loses your love in magic, you could be that person in 10 years' time saying to a magician, oh, I used to do that. Now, think about the time that you first got into magic, when you absolutely loved it and everything was just wonderful and it was super exciting and it was just like, oh my God, give me all the magic. I want all the magic now. Give it me. Matrix this stuff into my head. I want everything all at once. I want to learn the whole thing. And that honeymoon period that we have when you first get into magic, and it's super exciting, and every day you wake up and you grab a deck of cards and you're practicing something else. You need to get back to that. How do you get back to that? By finding inspiration, finding things that inspire you. I go and watch magic videos on YouTube of my favourite magicians, Jeff Hobson, Michael Finney. Michael Vincent, people like that, people who I really love watching perform, Shin Lim, the list goes on and on, Scott Alexander, Puck. I just love watching those people, and watching them gets me excited about wanting to perform magic and wanting to practice magic. Now that might not inspire you, but figure out what your inspiration is. Get yourself back to that point where magic was fun and exciting, when you wanted to practice all of the time. And if you feel like not practicing, don't force yourself to practice, but find inspiration that makes you want to practice. Point number 10, I made this point earlier on, and I'm drive it home again. Find like-minded friends that will be honest with you. Now, ideally magicians, but if not magicians, maybe like Sarah and Ryland are my like-minded friends in Nemid and Alex Foden and Kieran Shepherd. Kieran Shepherd, Alex Foden, Nemid Phoenix, Sarah Petty, Ryland Petty. Those are my 5. Those are the 5 people that I can show magic to, and I know 100% I'm going to get an honest feedback. If something's good, they're going to tell me it's good. If something's bad, they're going to tell me it's bad, and they all know enough about magic, they can tell me what's bad about it. Well, that was okay, but you flashed on this move, or, it was a little bit boring there, or you kind of said the same thing, or the presentation's the same as this, or whatever it may be. You need people like that in your life, because you need to know honest feedback. And unfortunately, you go to your magic club and you show them something, they're just going to be super nice and go, it's brilliant. And a lot of the time, adults are going to be nice as well, and they're going to go, yeah, that's really good. You want to go to people that will be brutally honest with you and tell you the truth and tell you what something looks like. And that's what you need. Practice is all about making something look perfect. And one of the ways that you can do that is by showing it to people who will then come back to you and go, well, actually, I think you need to work on this. I think you need to work on that. I don't think the angles on this are very good, whatever it may be. Practice, 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 absolutely. But eventually you need people around you that can give you honest feedback on what you've been practicing. I'm going to give you a bonus 11th point as well. A bonus 11th point, which is, I've got it written down here, enjoy the process and have fun. That's the most important thing. Have fun. You don't want to burn out. You don't want magic to become a chore. You don't want practice to become a chore. You want to love what you're doing. You want to love this whole concept of practicing. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be sitting there bored senseless or forcing yourself to practice. Have fun. And again, it comes back to what I said before. Think back to those times when you first got into magic and everything was super exciting and fun and rosy. That's what you want to get back to. Have fun. Enjoy the process. Very, very important. Have fun. So there you go, guys. That is 11 points that you can use to help you practice more effectively. I hope it helped. This is a video that a lot of people have been asking for, so I'd love to know your opinion. These 11 points are what I follow every single day when I practice, and I can pretty much guarantee you if you follow these points, it will help you as well. But now it's over to you. I want to know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know in the comments down below. Let me know. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me. I'd love to know. But if you think I'm right, let me know as well. Don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. If you want me to talk about other subjects, then let me know and I'll do that as well. And again, don't forget, I'm going to be back again tomorrow with 3 videos. I'm going to have 8 videos up over the weekend. And if you haven't already checked it out, last night at 9 o'clock, the Magic podcast, the Magic podcast with myself and Lloyd Barnes went live at 9 o'clock. If you want to see the fastest growing, the most exciting podcast in the magic community and you want to listen to it, then check it out. It's on all major podcasting platforms. Guys, I'll be back again tomorrow. I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.